Hello, video request time. Okay, this one's from Daft Bugger. It says 2 weeks ago. Oh my god. Sorry it took me so long. I am a freaking procrastinator. Video request, can you please discuss your feelings on standing up for principles? For example, the other day I was waiting in a long line at Chipotle Mexican food, and some people walked in after me and joined in some friends they knew who were further in the line than myself. Do you agree with me that skipping the line should always be frowned upon by society, regardless of whether they know someone standing in the closer to the checkout? Another similar situation is in the city where someone jumps ahead of you to take the taxi you were waiting for. I had a situation where I was sitting in train and a man spilled his beer all over my new suit. I told him he should compensate me for dry cleaning costs, but he refused and saying I'd get it dry cleaned eventually anyways. I feel in the same situation that I would want to compensate someone if I damage their personal property. I've had a situation where a neighbor played loud music outside and won't turn it down so I can enjoy the peace even after repeated phone calls complaining. I also noticed that people are rude speaking on cell phones in public areas like movie theaters where people would prefer them to be quiet. Sometimes when I feel confident, I confront these sorts of people and ask them to behave more civil. But they usually are rude and aggressive back. Do you think it is worth confronting rude people to stand for fairness? Have you ever had to deal with such selfish people in your life? Thanks. Alright. Wow, that's a good video request. Yeah, because this has to do with like social laws, social norms, and little gray areas of stuff, and it's good to talk about this and come to a consensus, so that we know the difference between right and wrong. Different countries are different, but I think the best countries just use the rules of common sense. So let's dissect each one of these. I think it's good to stand up for your principles. It's good for everybody involved, you and the other person, especially the other person. So this other one, he was saying, I was waiting in a long line at Chipotle Mexican food. And some people walked in after me and joined some friends they knew who were further in line than myself. I think Chipotle, the guy who founded Chipotle went to my high school, Boulder High. I thought you were in England. They have Chipotle in England? Jeez. Anyways, yeah, well, in that case, dude, I would side with them. I think that's perfect because for all you know, they all came together in one car. Like maybe they're workmates, or they walked there together and they're workmates on their lunch break, or they went there in one car and they're all together. And they didn't. So in that case, they didn't butt in line. They all came in together, and then a few of them went to pee first, and then they went out to pee or whatever, and then they went in line. That's because, and if it's just some dude who, you have no way of knowing that he's just some dude off the street butting in line. Butting in line is rude, and people definitely should say something. Once some dude tried to call me out for butting in line. I was at a bank, and I went to the front just to ask a really quick question, but I didn't want to do it. I guess he thought I was butting in line, and he caused a scene, but I didn't like the way that he asked me, so I got pissed. So if you're going to say something, you have to be respectful about the way that if you ask them, or else they're gonna get pissed off, and you should expect them to get pissed off. You have to treat people with respect, but and also you don't want to assume people are doing something that they may not be doing, like butting in line. Maybe they were already there. Okay, so do you agree that skipping in line should always be frowned on? Yeah, it should always be frowned on. Regardless of whether they know staying in line? No, if they know the person, because they could be with them. You don't know. And besides, it's a numbers thing. There's, if all of them they say it's okay, then it has to be okay, It's, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. My roommate, actually has a similar situation. I guess like a year ago, my roommate or whatever in the next town over was in a Starbucks, and my roommate is really raggedy looking. He looks like a homeless person, and some dude in a suit butted in line in front of him, and my roommate said something to him like sarcastic, like, "Oh, you like to stand at butt in line of everybody everywhere you go," or something. And the guy was like, said something to him like, do you always go into like coffee shops dressed like a homeless person or something like that? And they ended up arguing, and but the people who owned the place sided with the other guy instead of my roommate, and refused to serve my roommate. So my roommate was probably, just was rude the way that he came across, or just didn't, you have to be, um, take into account where you're at. And they were both regulars too. I was like, well, maybe they made more money off the other guy, and my roommate said he saw the guy in there again, and they like pretend they didn't recognize each other or whatever. But I mean, I don't know why my roommate would choose to go in there if I was in a situation like that and they sided with the other person. Then why would you wouldn't go in? So I just don't know the whole story. So maybe it wasn't exactly how my roommate said it was, but just anyways, the point is you want to, if everybody else sides against you, then maybe you could explain the whole logic because there is possibility that everybody in the place is just an idiot. But yeah, so if it happened exactly how my roommate said it happened, I would have taken it a step farther and then argued with the people who didn't want to serve me until they escalated it more. But it probably didn't happen the way he said. Anyways, I'm really high, that's why I got sidetracked. Sorry. Let's continue. Okay. Some people walked in line, regardless of whether they're sitting in the check. Okay. Another situation is in the city where someone jumps ahead of you to take a taxi you were waiting for. Yeah, dude, that's rude. Although sometimes people do that on accident. They don't look around and they can't tell that somebody is around looking for a taxi. I went into the supermarket. This was like 6 months ago or something. I went over to the supermarket and I was listening to my Walkman, and everything, and I work really fast. Okay, I'm just everything I do is really fast, and so I rode up really quickly to this supermarket bike rack, and there was this dude holding a bike in front of it, and I rode up to it and I put my bike on the bike rack and I locked it. And this is a full bike rack, and that was the only spare area. And the guy holding the bike is like, I was gonna put my bike there. And then I was like, huh? And I thought he was just saying like, hey, how's it going or whatever, because I had my earphones maybe on it. And then I go, huh? And then he's kind of still there, and I go, wait, what? You're gonna put your bike there? Oh, because he's like, I was gonna put my bike there. And he goes, oh, whatever, it's okay. And I was like, huh? And then I was like, oh, you're gonna put your bike there? And he's like, yeah, but whatever. So that was a situation where it should have been obvious because as he's holding his bike, putting it on the rack, and I just come up and put it there. But that was an accident. And so, the first thing you should assume is that the person who butt in line of you did it in an accident. Don't be angry with him. Just go, hey, I was here first. And then if he's like, and say it calmly. Go, hey, I was here first. And then if he's like, oh, fuck you, then that's where you change your tone and you get angry. You go, what? Are you fucking serious? You think it's totally cool to butt in line? And then you go, all right, then I'll butt in line. Then run up and jump in the cab with him. That's what I do. You're like, all right, you want to fucking do the cab ride? Then you pay for me to get to where I'm going. Then you can pay extra to go somewhere else. I was here first. And then, of course, you just have to go with whatever the cab driver says. If the cab driver's not going to know who was there first. So the cab driver's just probably going to just want to serve the dude who actually made it in the cab first, So get him, He hails the cab, well, now run, dart into the cab. Okay. Okay, I had a situation where I was sitting in a train and a man spilled his beer all over my new suit. I told him he should compensate me for dry cleaning costs, but he refused, saying I would get dry cleaned anyway. Yeah, in that situation, I'd side with you. You definitely, if he spilled his beer and it was his fault on your suit, and it's obviously a brand new suit, then yeah, he should compensate you. But see that's kind of you. That's a situation actually where you would have to be there to know who to side with, because you say it's new, but if he looked at it and he didn't see the suit that's totally new, then he would have reason to believe that you're just trying to scam him off money, And so if he gave you money right then, at that moment, then he would be like, you wouldn't clean it. You just clean it whenever you're going to clean it anyway, and you just use that money to buy something else. But if it was your idea to go, hey, what's your address? I'll mail you the bill, and and the bill has the date of the dry cleaning, which was like the next day. Then obviously you got it dry cleaned because he spilled the beer. That's what I would have said to the guy. I would have gone. Look, you should pay for me to get this dry cleaned. And it's brand new, and I am going to get it dry cleaned tomorrow. I can't have it like this. And so I'm gonna. And so just give me your address. You don't have to pay me now. Just give me your address, and I'll mail you the bill. And in that case, that takes the awkwardness out of it, because he could say that he's gonna pay, and then just not pay, because he doesn't have to pay. And that'd be a good way for him to slither out by being a liar. But then he's being a liar, so he has his moral his honor has to pay. His consciousness has to pay. Conscience, because see, you can bust people with conscience. That's what the whole confronting people is all about. That's enough right there. Because people remember those conversations for the rest of their life. And so if you approach it the right way and you explain all that, he'll remember every word you said. And he'll be like, you know what? I should have given him my address, because I wouldn't have to pay anyways. Well, I guess then he could be freaked out that somebody knows your address. You know what I mean? People get freaked out about stuff like that. Um, See, there's another reason. See, that's a reason why people shouldn't be so anonymous. If people aren't anonymous, everybody always knows where everybody lives. People wouldn't be afraid to give somebody an address to send him a bill. But but uh, but yeah, if you had explained all that, he definitely would remember, and then you would at least feel exonerated for getting his conscience, and then you'd feel good about yourself for teaching him a lesson. Because then the next time he spills beer on somebody, and then if they happen to say that, then there's a bigger chance that he would give them his address and then pay for the bill. But yeah, I mean, in a situation like that, I think the suit would have to be new. It'd have to be obviously new. But I think it's pretty clear when suits are that nice or immaculate, and then you spill beer on it. Obviously, dude, that's beer. That's all kinds of nasty shit that's gonna get in there, and so he definitely should have paid. But I mean, there's just people are just bad. Once I had a weird altercation with a guy in a subway in Chile in Santiago. I come back from like a week long backpacking trip in the mountains. I went to that plane where the in the movie Alive with Ethan Hawke. I checked it out. I put on the rugby jersey. It's cool. Took a picture because it was all that crap was still up there. But anyways, so I'm in the subway, and like I have this big ass backpack on, backpacking backpack, and there's this, and I'm leaning up against a up on the metal pole in the subway, and some dude puts his hand on the pole to support himself. But somehow his hand was like way low, and maybe when he first put his hand there, he put it right over my shoulder, and I was like leaning or something, but I wanted to stand up, but I had to lean against the pole, and he didn't want to let his hand go and move his hand up, so I just kind of leaned up against it and put a little bit of pressure against his hand, and he was like, "Hey man, what?" And he was like, getting all angry with me. All he had to do was slide his hand up a little bit more, because I was like all low, and that guy was fucking weird. But I was like just pushing harder and harder, and he was just like clenching, trying to not let his hand go up. Fucking weird, dude. So there's weirdos in this world, man. In situations like that, just, choose the middle ground. I didn't yell at him, but I tried to push his hand up, and it turned into a fucking wrestling match or something. So weird. Anyways, okay, I told him he should compensate sending it to dry clean some damage to my personal property. Okay, I've had a situation where, but if he doesn't, see that the thing is you probably felt angry, that he fucked you up like that and then disrespected you by not wanting to pay. But if you totally give him a tongue lashing with a really calm voice and use all that logic and make it abundantly clear that he's being a dick for not paying you, you know, by just explaining all the ways he could pay you and why, you know, he's destroying your suit. I mean, you guys are in a train. You're stuck together. He has to sit there and listen to you for the next couple minutes at least, even if he's getting off on the next stop. So give him a tongue lashing. Just give him a lecture. And then that way you don't have to be angry. And then you leave and you're like, haha, I give that guy a tongue lashing. Whatever, you know, and then you can like let it slip off, slide away, and you know, but you can feel good about yourself because you gave him a lesson. You know, you did him a favor. Believe me, he in the long run he'll appreciate you saying that to him. Okay. I've had a situation where a neighbor played loud music outside and won't turn it down, so I can enjoy the peace even after repeated phone calls complaining. Yeah, okay, let's talk about that. Wow, yeah, man, you actually dealt with that really well because most people would just call the cops. You actually asked him directly and then called him multiple times and he still wouldn't do it. Yeah, in a situation like that, I would record the loud music, like with a video camera like this, and I'd be like, okay, so this is his loud music. You hear it? Isn't that annoying? And then I'd film around my apartment and be like, see, wouldn't you be annoyed with this? This guy does it all the time, and then list the exact times he does it. He does it for 4 hours between 3 and 7 every day. And then when I call him, he says, fuck off, watch, and then call him on the video camera and put on speaker and be like, hey, dude, can you turn the music down? And then, well, but actually tell him that you're recording the thing first. You have to tell people you're recording it. If you record somebody without their permission, then they can bust you later. So be like, hey, dude, I'm making a YouTube video. Oh, no. But warn him first, though. Call him and privately go, dude, I keep calling you and you keep playing that music and I invite you over. Oh, but invite him over to your apartment first. To hang out in your apartment when he's playing it. Go over there. When he's playing, go over there. Knock on his door. Say, come in my apartment. And he will come in. Come in my apartment. Stand in here and listen. And ask him if he would deal with that. If he would want music that loud. And then maybe you should play music that loud too. And be like, and so that he could hear it, you know. And you know, and if he still doesn't go, look, man, if you keep doing this, then I'm going to do a YouTube video about it. And I'm going to call you and I'm going to record you. So then maybe he won't answer. So then you do the YouTube video and then call him and go, he probably won't answer because I told him I was going to do this. And of course he doesn't answer. And then leave the message, you know, and then put it up on YouTube. And then call him and tell him to watch the video. That he's a dick. And that you don't like him and that you're going to tell everybody in the building that he's a dick. And that they don't like him too for playing his music too loud. That'll make him turn the music down. But you know, if all of the neighbors in the building don't think he's playing it too loud and you're the only one, then maybe you should give it up. Start line your apartment with egg cartons or something. Okay, I won't turn it down so I can enjoy the peace even after repeated phone calls complaining. I also noticed that the people are rude speaking on cell phones in public areas, like in movie theaters where people would prefer them to be quiet. There's a Beastie Boys song about that. Yeah, I guess it's like those people. It's like developing blindisms, you know, like Stevie Wonder, who's like this. Blind people, they can't see themselves bobbing their head, so they just do it. And you know, I guess some people just spend their entire lives on the cell phone, and so they just can't. They just don't know they're talking really loud when they're going everywhere. You know, I think the best thing is to just assume the best of people and just assume they don't know. So just do it, to treat them the same exact way you would treat like somebody, your friend, you know. Go, hey, shh. Just do that. You know, when people do that, that would make a lot of people angry. That would even make me kind of angry because I don't like to get, I kind of have a pride. I don't like to get, you know, shunned or whatever, but they would have no reason to get mad at you. If you're calm and you go, hey, shh. If they got mad at you, they just look like an idiot. Like, I remember I was in I was on Pearl Street Mall in Boulder here a long time ago, there was a mall performer, and he was doing, he's doing a show, and then people were standing around him watching, and then some like kid who wasn't paying attention was just like walked through the open space between where the performer was and all the people watching, like down the mall, and the performer said some kind of sarcastic joke like, "Oh yeah, go ahead." Oh, that's what he did. He stopped his performance and he goes, "Oh, go ahead, walk right through my performance, young man." But he was funny, dude, and he said it like with a calm, funny voice, and the kid pissed the kid off. He goes, "What? Hey, fuck you, man! Fuck everybody!" But it made him look like an idiot, dude. So yeah, yeah, people in cell phones, just that's kind of like your legal and moral right and responsibility that everybody knows about, the unwritten rule that you need to do that with people, and if they get angry, then they believe me, they'll be embarrassed about it later and they won't do it again. So yeah, so let's go. Shh, you're annoying me, because people don't have to talk that loud. They can go out, talk somewhere else, or they can put their hand over and people can still listen. There's no reason to talk super loud on my cell phone. Okay, sometimes when I feel confident, I confront these sorts of people and ask them to behave more civil, but they usually are rude and aggressive back. Yeah, people don't like to get put in their place, man. Especially people, like younger people deal with it better than older people. Like workers deal with it better than like supervisor types, and dirtbag type of people who need to have it deal with a lot better than cool people. But just because somebody's aggressive and mean to you, just because you put them in their place, doesn't mean you have to like lose any sleep over it. You can just let it, kind of like me and the YouTube trolls. You just let it roll up. You just respond to them how you do, and then you forget about it. I'm not really the kind of person who confronts people, but I never was in a situation where I had to do it. If I grew up in a place where people were always being like that, maybe I would be, but I don't really know. So once I saw a dude, I was in a supermarket and I saw this guy steal a power bar like right in front of me. And so he walked right past the teller, and I told the teller, I was like, that guy just stole a power bar, and the teller didn't do anything about it. And I think that was all my responsibility. I wasn't going to say anything to the guy. All I had to do was tell the teller, because it's not my job. And then I could have been there as a witness. I would have been more than happy to tell the guy at that point with the teller there, but I wasn't going to take it upon myself. Fuck that. But that was at that time. It was like 20 years ago. If it would have happened now, maybe, and if I was in an aggressive mood, maybe I would yell and I'd be like, "Hey, stealing power bars is bad." But it was the first time that's ever happened. I'd never seen anybody do that, and I told the person, and he didn't do anything. So I don't know. That was weird situation. Okay. Oh, and I guess that's oh wait, no, then there's more. Sometimes when I feel they're usually rude and aggressive. Do you think it is worth confronting rude people to stand for fairness? Yeah, it's definitely worth it, man. The reason that people are rude back to you is probably because they aren't used to be put in their place, and they can go through life being dicks. We don't want to live in a world where everybody goes through life being a dick because nobody else does anything. That's what third world countries are all about, man. Basically, that's why third world countries are third world. A lot of third world countries, like in Latin America, Mexico, and Chile and stuff. People can get away with doing nasty shit because nobody does anything. They don't regulate because they're all cowards. The cops are cowards. Everybody's fucking cowards. Nobody puts anybody back in their place. So people just walk all over everybody, and then they deal with it they're really good at forgiving, because they have to forgive everybody, because everybody's always overstepping their bounds on everything. But it also causes people to talk behind people's back. Like, that's how they get back at each other, by talking behind their back. And it's better to just follow rules. Cops are there to serve and protect and enforce the law, but but we need to live in a situation where we all enforce the law. I was, like all those all the drug wars in Mexico, people killing each other from all the drug cartels, and then I don't think that kind of stuff could exist in America, because if a drug cartel started doing that kind of stuff, murdering people in like a normal American city, like the people I think would take it upon their own hands and just kill all the people. If the cops weren't doing anything about it, it'd be like a Hollywood movie. It'd be like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. We'd take it in our own hands and snuff that shit out. But Mexicans don't do that because they're all cowards. That's my opinion. I lived in Chile for 5 years, dude, and people just throw their hands up and they're like, oh, that's just how it is, man. I don't know. It's just how it is. Once I went mountain biking in Chile, in Santiago, with my friend, and we went up some like trail, a really good mountain bike, and then there were these 3 guards there, and they're saying, you can't go by here. Why? Because it's private property. Why? Because just because it's private property. And I was like, wait, so the owner of this land pays you 3 guys to hang out here all day long to tell people they can't ride up here? Yeah. And I was like, that's fucking bullshit. And then I started telling them how it was in America and how America's better. And they were just like, hey, that's just how it is, dude. It's just how it is. Like, they weren't trying to acknowledge that it was fucked up. They just were like, whatever, that's just how it is here. It was like, that's just a cop-out, dude. And that's why those countries are like that. People throwing up their hands and saying, oh, whatever, that's how it is. So yeah, you always want to confront in some way. Now, have I ever been in any other situations where people have confronted me or I've confronted people? For doing stuff? No. My roommate gets in altercations like on a regular basis with people. With bicycles, on his bicycle, with cars. But my roommate doesn't. I don't know, man. I think my roommate doesn't. I've ridden around town with him, and I think he causes a problem. See, and I think there should be a distinction between if somebody's actually confronting you and putting you in your place, or if somebody's just in it with words, or if somebody's just expressing anger. Because sometimes people, and that's another way. And if somebody does that with you, expresses anger with you, throws up their hand and is like, what the fuck? And then they take off. Like, what'd you fucking butt in front of me? Like, I was at a Starbucks and I pulled into a parking lot once and I wasn't paying attention, but there was some old dude and his old wife who were gonna pull in too. I think he even had his signal, but he was just driving so damn slow. I didn't notice. And then he goes, fine, take my parking place then. I'll go somewhere else. And he's all pissed off and he takes off, and I was like, what? And I didn't notice. So that was my fault. He was totally his right and responsibility to put me in my place. But I didn't lose any sleep over it because it was an accident. I was just like, oh shit, I should pay more attention. Once I was in Tucson and I blew a red stop sign for some reason, or I didn't wait and go in front of, anyways, and there were these high school kids and they pulled in front of me, and it was my fault, and the kid goes, pay attention, just like in a calm voice, and that was a good way to deal with it, or to honk your horn. But to lay on the horn, that's fucking rude. Laying on horns would piss me off, and I would never do that to somebody else. So, yeah, that's a cool little thing to talk about. So, yeah, I think it's good to definitely stand for your principles and confront rude people, but in a calm voice. And then once they get angry with you, you could continue to talk to them in a calm voice as long as they're there in your face, And then you'll feel all proud of yourself afterwards, like you regulated, and you help, because that's what brings the world a better place. If nobody regulates anybody, then people run wild, and you get third world countries, And we need that not just on the small scale with people, but on the large scale with laws. We need to regulate our politicians. We have to set up a system where we're all checks and balances and all that. So, anyways, okay, peace out.